This is 99% Craps.
Hard 10, hard 10. Here's the number.
I'll take the full odds on the 10, 200 on the Hardway. The limit on all the numbers, 250 on the 11. Thank you very much.
Say, you played this game before.
Just once.
Welcome to the Red Eye Gamblers podcast. High above the second largest city, west of the Mississippi. Two chronic craps players, talking craps, playing craps, thinking craps. This is 99% Craps.
Coming up on our 9th episode of 99% Craps, we start with more superstitions and etiquette, then discuss craps strategy and theory on our most recent casino trip. Wednesday, October 24th, 2018, Episode 9. The Red Eye Gamblers present 99% Craps. And welcome back to another podcast and another trip to Lake Charles.
Woohoo! I'm excited.
It's been a little while.
It's been a little while.
So yeah, no, it should be fun. We should get there and tables should be open and we shouldn't have a problem just being able to jump on. So we're bringing a medium bankroll today?
Yeah, not a huge one, not a small one. I guess if it, just right. But I think the style of play for today is going to be different than what we normally do. Or,
I guess initially.
yeah.
We'll find out within the first 15, 20 minutes whether we're doing it right or wrong. Well, so we've talked about etiquette, and we've talked about some of the most important things about etiquette, about when to buy in, whether or not to interrupt the shooter and all that kind of stuff. But the absolute number one, most important etiquette rule is to never say the word 7 at the table.
The second you think it, the second it's rolled.
Yeah, you're almost not even supposed to think the word. But that is... I apologize for not bringing this one up. We should have brought this up in the very first episode.
Because the dealer was trying not to say it.
Well, yeah, no, you do not say that. You don't. Never. Ever. Unless...
Come out roll.
That's it.
Yeah.
Come out roll. Because you're looking for a 7 on the come out roll. So that's really technically... And then after you roll a 7, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
So really, if the dice are out and the point's already made, never, ever, ever say 7. When the point's not made, 7's good.
Because then you'll cheer because you'll have gotten paid if you were on the pass line.
But you really kind of want to just avoid saying the word 7. Well, it's going back to table karma. It's that's one way to disrupt table karma, because everybody at the table knows that you're not supposed to do that. So again, apologies for this now being coming out in episode 9.
Yeah, so if you've been chanting it while you're at the table, those are why you're getting all the dirty looks.
That's why everybody's looking at you. But you hear stories and you see stories of people trying to explain the game at the table and they're saying the word 7, or somebody around the table, you can overhear them saying it, or hell, just idiots yelling it for no reason other than they know it's messed up.
Yeah, but it just seems like the second somebody says it, if not that roll, the very next roll it happens.
It's very odd.
And the percentages in my head are screaming like 80 to 90%.
Yeah.
Which might not be true, but that's
not true at all.
That's what it's screaming in my head right now. Of course, along with all the other voices, who could tell?
Well, 90% of the time for the 15 minutes that you were there. those swings. But I guess this is also a nice little transition. We can go right from, the number one etiquette rule ever, don't say the word 7 at the table, especially when the point's made. Then I guess roll right into, and it's more of a superstition. Why not to say it? Is that's all it really is.
Right, because the dice don't have ears.
No. And if you're playing with a pair that has ears, I don't think that's craps.
It's a whole nother game. Well, yeah, that's why when you said etiquette, I was thinking, well, it is an etiquette thing to say, but it's because of a superstition.
Superstitions. Don't say 7 because the 7 will show.
Always ask for same dice.
Same dice.
When one dice is thrown off the table.
Yeah, when the dice go thrown off the table, there's another one. You always want to ask for the same dice.
Same dice.
Not only that, but you might want to turn your bets off for one roll or 2. Because if you don't ask for the same dice will definitely show 7. If you do ask for the same dice, it's still a 50-50 on whether that 7's going to show or not. And that's why usually you turn off your bets as well. Something weird about when the dice fly off the table.
And then when new chips are brought to the table, that seems to always...
when the fill is happening, so when they're refilling the bank, that's usually a nice disruption. Usually any disruption is not a good disruption. So those can all be attributed to, because another disruption would be Waitress coming by, asking the shooter while he's got the dice. That's another big no-no.
Right, but they always do that.
Always do that. And then you hear everybody complaining about always doing that. Then you got a couple shooters who just stare down the cocktail waitress and give her the evil eye, and so she doesn't come by at all, and then everybody doesn't get a drink.
Or the wife that comes by and rubs the back of the husband.
Yeah, when you've got the girlfriend or the spouse touching the shooter, saying that how she lost all her money at the blackjack table and then, came over to give him good luck.
But I notice if you freely give a high five, it doesn't affect it.
I think a sincere high five is completely fine. Fist bumps too. I'm more so on the fist bump nowadays. Less germ spread.
Right. Well, because Lord knows the chips and the dice are clean. Weren't those other two guys from that podcast talking about how dirty chips were?
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows that. Well, it's just how money is dirty too. But hell, if you had a lot of it, you'd probably roll around naked in it, wouldn't you, without thinking about it?
I've done that before.
So which is dirtier?
I once had sex on top of $40,000 in cash.
I don't want to hear about that.
I came back with $36,780. But with a smile on my face.
I bet. So. Alright, so back to superstitions. So basically table interruptions.
That's a big one, yes.
Those are kind of the most of, you could categorize them that way. And then things you say, so 7 would be in there. There might be some other things that you're not supposed to say that will come around too.
This might be more etiquette than even a superstition, but that one guy that keeps throwing that Hardways bet or that...
Well, late bets.
Yeah, late bets.
Late bets, you start interrupting the shooter, and so therefore you're messing with table karma. So I wouldn't say it's not a superstition, but it's more of an etiquette and karma deal. But then you've got those guys. I've seen those don't bettors that do that though.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
They'll be on the don't and they'll throw out late hot bets or late horn bets.
Well, they're doing it for a specific reason.
Yeah, they're doing it on purpose.
The person that's playing positive with you is doing it because they probably have no idea.
Well, yeah, no, that's what we're trying to correct.
Or maybe they think by them throwing it out late, you'll pop that hard to get number for them. I don't know.
Well,
I don't think
who
they're
knows
thinking
how
like
they're
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not thinking properly.
Well, today I think I really want to try to be more aggressive. I think I'm going to go with our morphed iron cross, you know, not covering everything, but I'm going to put a good deal of money on 6s and 8s, and then a smaller amount on 5 and 9, and let that roll for the first 2 or 3 rolls, and then maybe cut it to half, and go maybe the 4th and 5th roll, depending on how I feel about who's rolling, and then just probably turn it completely off, or maybe go, if it's hit a couple times, maybe go minimums inside, or maybe at least on 6 and 8. But I think I definitely want to try to put some much bigger bets out there today, because we're going to play for a shorter amount of time, and I think we want to try to make some calculated swings that can have a chance of making money. You know, trying to have our money out there at the right time, I think, is early in somebody's roll at the very beginning.
Yep.
And just hope that they're not a 7 and out person.
Well, you got to figure out if they're lucky or not.
Yeah. And I don't think just asking somebody that is good enough. But my idea for today is, I think I don't know if I'll do it, but I sure would love to go 156 and 8.
Yeah.
But I would have had to have won a few before I could do that. You know.
Yeah.
I don't mind taking a bigger swing, but I want it to be more house money than my money when I do that one.
Well, sure. I mean, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to play some Hardways with nickels and just see if I can get lucky and press one and hit that. If you play with nickels and just one hits, you pretty much can break even and still press. So if that's possible, and then you hit another one, then you've really made some money. So might try to do that depending on who, because we've noticed before there are certain rollers that do seem to hit more Hardways.
Yeah.
But my concentration today is going to be on bigger bets and trying to see if I'm going to watch for that ATS where they were looking for that one number and then they 7 out, and I'm going to try to remember to hop it on the come out roll and maybe play it for 2 hits. You know, if it doesn't hit the first one, go right back up on it.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be a 12 or a 4. You know, hop the 4s, or put $5 on a boxcar, and if it pops, because we always say that whatever number didn't hit on the ATS, it usually rolls very soon after that.
Well, we've seen it a ton of times.
I want to try to remember to be more cognitive of that.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. We don't notice it until after it happens.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh man, I should have put $5 on it.
And then you don't see it again.
Yeah. So I want to try to be more aware of not the big trends we watch. You know, how is it cold, warm table, hot table. I want to try to be more aware of the smaller trends that you have to be so much more quicker to pick up on.
Well, it's the finer details.
Well, what are your strategy ideas for this afternoon?
Well,
what are some of the things you're going to be looking for?
I'm going to have 2 different opening plays. I want to bet big at the beginning initially to take advantage of maybe something at the very beginning, and then kind of even out lower. I don't know, see if I can find if it's a choppy table or if it's a warm table. If it's choppy, then I'll probably start with a couple of DCs and just slow play. Or I really like the 4 and 10 play that I've been doing, and depending on if 4s and 10s, we've seen 4s and 10s hit Lake Charles.
Right.
So it's just a matter of is today that day. So I think I'm going to split, just hang out on 2 numbers until I see a trend, and then start going a little more aggressive midway through the day.
Okay, well, I mean, I definitely want to...
And I don't know when I'm going to roll, but I'm not going to want to roll all day. I'll probably, second session, I'll probably roll, but probably not the first session.
Okay, interesting.
Well, and then I'm thinking there's 3 sessions today.
And how long would you suppose each session
2
might
hour
be?
max.
Okay.
That gives us 6 hours potential.
Well, we also have a room today, so I could take a nap in between.
Well, and that brings us right back around to being more aggressive. How are you going to win? You got to spend money to make money. You know, all this low bet and, you know, $5 table stuff. You maintain time at the table, you don't make any money. You know, you're paying for your free drinks. Or excuse me, you're not even paying for your free drinks. You're working for those drinks.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, most likely they're, you know, in the long run, if you're playing for hours, they're going to chip away at you.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel very comfortable that I could spend all day at a craps table and not lose more than $100 if that was my goal. You know, if my goal was just to maintain and stay there all day, I could definitely do that.
Yeah, I know we definitely know how to play for the long.
Yeah, I could grind it out. I could easily grind it out. But
well, to be honest with you, that's how we've managed to make up money when we've gotten down before. Is then all of a sudden we really slow down, and then we're, you know, playing much more conservatively, which sometimes.
Well, that's how we started.
Yeah.
No, we go back to basics. No, that's the thing. We're coming up with new plays, new ideas, and then we're testing these ideas out. And what we're finding is some of these plays work better at the $15 and $25 level versus the $5 and $10 level. You know, and then now we're starting to see, you know, now there's $60 levels and $120 levels and $150 levels that we want to strive for. But we've always had a philosophy of minimum exposure to the 7. So having the lowest amount of money at risk on the table at all times. Well, when you do that, then you're never going to win a maximum amount.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. We've always kind of been a one hit and down kind of. That's how we've made our money. Get a big hit, come down, and leave. That's usually how it happens. You have a good roll and then leave.
Yeah.
So yeah, having consistent rolls, or at least two good rolls.
Well, and it's not even if it's
or you having a good roll and me having a good roll.
But we have done that once or twice, but not very often.
Not consistently.
Never consistently. But it could even just be after somebody randomly has a good roll, the next roll usually is not going to be as strong. We say that.
Tell me how that New Orleans trip went.
Yeah, well, I wasn't on the table at that point, so.
I think that's a lot like voting. If you didn't vote, you can't say anything.
Well, that could be true. So why don't you tell me how New Orleans felt?
There was no way that they were going to roll back-to-back monsters on a Friday night at 11:30 in New Orleans with 2 million people in the casino.
Right after the band had just marched through.
They were still there.
In theory, I completely agree with you.
And all those superstitions we talked about?
We're all present and there.
Happening all at the same time.
It was a
Hey,
festive
to be honest,
mood.
there probably was voodoo dolls and all sorts of things going on around there too. I would not be surprised.
There was all kinds of craziness going on. It was chaos at its best. No way 2 huge rolls could come back to back.
Nope.
No
not
way.
At all.
And then bam, bam, one after another. Well, where are you going to start on ATS today? Are you going to only play when you play $25, or are you going to do?
I am going to roll and play $25 on myself. I am not going 2-1 to it if I can get away with not being on the pass line. If they'll just let me do that while I'm on the box numbers. And that's a matter of you asking for forgiveness, not for permission.
Right. Oh no, let them call you out for it for sure.
Yeah, no, you throw out the money, they usually take it. So.
And I think if that was the only bet you were making, it would become an issue. But if you're playing big money up top, I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
No, I don't think so at all. And to be honest, the easy way to do that is and the way we're gonna be playing it, or the way I'm gonna be playing is I'll be turning off those bets as opposed to taking them down, if they'll let me.
I don't see why they wouldn't.
They don't like money staying up there because it's confusing when everybody else loses. If it's not gonna be up there for more than, like if you're gonna leave it off for more than 3 rolls, you should take your bet down, because then it just gets confusing. But different rules for different players and different amounts of money. But for the most part, they want to get that action out of there,
right?
Because it's confusing, and they don't want to have to correct a mistake. That's my best assumption of how that really went. That one makes a lot of sense to me.
No, it does. But I mean, if you've got $12 bets up there, or 100 or 90 or 150, whatever we might be playing, I think they'll treat those bets more differently.
Well, sure. No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you've got a $300 bet out there, they'll let you turn it off. But at the same time, if you just have it up there and off in 2 rolls, and then he goes and rolls for like 8 or 10 more times, I don't think they're going to like you having that money up there the whole time. I think they're going to want you to take that money down, because they're thinking that's an opportunity for them to make a mistake.
Right.
And either take it or pay you for it when it's off for more than a couple of rolls. Unless that's your play and you go back and forth. But I would think that if that's what you want to do, then you need to communicate that with the dealer.
Yeah, but I don't see us turning it off and then turning it back on mid-roll.
Well, no, but at the same time, if you have that discussion with your dealer,
right,
and tell them, hey, this is the way I'm going to play this, and then leave it, but tell him what you're going to do is, hey, I'm going to leave this up for a couple of rolls and I'm going to turn it off. Is it better for me to leave it up there, or do you want me to take it down? But have that already set up so you're not interrupting a roll with that communication, so you're not getting that karma out. Because what you're basically saying is the shooter's going to roll a 7 without saying he's going to roll a 7.
Right.
That's exactly what you're saying. The charade that you're playing, the game that you're playing, the mime in the room says, I don't trust the shooter anymore, turn off all my bets, he's going to roll a 7. And you don't want to say that during the game. So if you can work that out before, and with the dealer, and especially if you're playing with $150, at the same time, aren't you going to be betting aren't you going to be putting a tip or a bet out there for the dealers?
I'm going to try.
So that's also a way to say, every time I'm betting that, this is your bet too.
Right.
And then that also gets them into the game, because now they're making that extra money. Dealers play for tips.
Well, we know all the positive karma that placing dealer tips will do for you. Keeping the dealers off your back, and they're going to lean toward more your favor if there's a question about a call. They're going to try to. I still think I like playing the 6 and 8 for $1 for the dealers, and giving them the choice to either leave it up as it hits or pull it down.
If you give them $1 and you're betting $150 on the 6 and 8, I'm going to slap you across the face.
I was thinking more like $18 bet, but yes.
And I'm sorry, 4 miles ago, what were you talking about doing?
Oh yeah, but I mean, not opening. I'm not going to open with it.
I'm going to play real aggressive. I'm going to give the dealer $1.
Man, that was 4 miles back there. I was a different man back there.
I'm going to be real aggressive today.
Well, I am, but I mean, I'm not going to walk up to the table and bet $300 to start with. my first bet probably will be the minimum table, and I'm going to bet. But I want to play the dealers with me, you know. But no, it's not going to be yeah. Let me get a 6 and 8, 150 each, please.
And a dollar for you guys.
$1 for you guys.
Yeah, split it 50-50. All right, so we are less than 3 minutes from the casino. Any last thoughts before you part from all your money?
Well, today I'm going to...
Anything you want to say to your money before it leaves you?
No, today is going to be a very positive day. We're going to
You want to say hello to the new money you're going to find?
We're going to say hello to the new money I make. It's going to be a good day.
We have from here to there to discuss it. Because this is like the best sounding highway out there.
I'm playing 6s and 8s, so hopefully 6s and 8s are flowing today.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to be on it when the ATS hits, if it does.
I was going to say, I'm hoping if the ATS hits today, then that'll mean that tables are pretty warm. And if tables are pretty warm, then the odds of having one good hot roller or 2 good hot rollers, well, I guess the 2 of us are showing up, so that's going to happen.
Well, and I'm looking for the regulars, the guys that we know that live in this area that play a lot here, because I think that, you know, maybe we can catch a decent roll out of them. Or, you know, to be honest with you, I'm not even looking for great rolls. What I'm looking for is 5 rolls from each person. Right. If I could get 5 rolls from each person, and then I don't care what they do after that, but if I could get 5 rolls, and even if not all of them are inside numbers, I'm fine with that. Yep. If I can just get 5 rolls out of each person, I would be happy.
No, I would love that too. That'll go with what I'm planning on to do today as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think today I'm gonna, like I said, I am gonna try to be more aggressive, but at the same time, if I'm gonna be more aggressive, then I have to be more disciplined, and I have to stick to, you know, what I'm saying is I want to play strong on the front end, decrease that bet, and by the 5th either be off or at table minimum, and then, you know, if I'm at table minimum, then be happy to press and try to make some more money. If not, savor and enjoy the money that I just made.
Yep.
Or if they 7 and out, then cry over the money I just lost.
There's no crying in craps. All right, so we're still a little warm from all the heat that was on the table.
The tables were sweltering, but it was still so cold in there, man.
Yeah, it is a little weird how it's freezing in there.
But the tables were on fire. Definitely would not have been a good day to go DC.
No. Actually, I think there was only 1 or 2 come bettors. But yeah, we were doing some back-to-back point action that would have been a come bettor's dream. But it wasn't bad for us just being on the point, or excuse me, on the box numbers.
But yeah, no, we got into our positions, and even though we did get points established and rolled 7s right out a few times, we also had some very good rolls.
Yeah, it was a little frustrating at the very beginning, but we kind of got out of that kind of quickly.
Yeah. Well, and I hit like 3 points in like 9 or 10 rolls. That's pretty solid. But then I think at one point I had 6 points that I made. So yeah, we did pretty good today. Tonight will be a good drive back home.
I hope so.
Well, and I think we were able to do what we kind of discussed on the ride up, was being a little bit more aggressive, but at the same time being disciplined. And, you know, that I think maybe one of the best examples is I had a couple of bets up there, and they were pretty large bets, and hit it twice, and I turned it off, and even the dealer agreed with me. Hell, if I made that kind of money, I'd be good too. Yep. And I think that's what the deal is. If you can make some money in the first couple rolls, and I kept my, you know, I mean, I didn't turn it off after 2 rolls every time. I kept them on a lot till 5 or 6 rolls. And I missed out on a couple of guys who did actually roll pretty fair, but I feel like the trade-off is worth it. I think pulling money back to your rail is always important, and you've got to stay on top of that. And it was, and I think I played a disciplined game tonight. I think that's why I'm leaving ahead.
Yeah, no, I think we both were playing very disciplined. We're very focused.
Didn't quite find as many spots to play like proposition bets when I thought it was going to hit, but I did do it once, and it did work the one time I did it, so I was happy about that.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, you might want to explain that one a little more.
Well, we had talked about, for example, if somebody was rolling for the ATS and, maybe they were shooting after the 3, that was the last number they needed to complete the one side, and, if they roll a 7, then we talked about on the come-out roll that we would try to play, the horn bet or just play with whichever number we thought might hit. And I did do that on one because you had a pretty good roll, and then you were looking for just snake eyes, and you couldn't get it. And then the next guy that rolled didn't do it on his first roll, but his second roll ended up being snake eyes.
Yep.
And I did happen to have some money on it, and collected a nice little chunk of money. But I didn't see enough of those opportunities as I thought I would have. Hardways seemed to be popping pretty good, but I saw that one guy, he kept having to refresh his 8 or whatever, or 6, because we would hit it. You and I pounded 6s and 8s, but we were not always hitting them hardways. We're hitting hardways 1 out of 5, but we're hitting the easy way, much more frequently. I didn't want to feed that hole. It seemed like it did okay in certain spots, but I felt like in the long run it was too much money to risk for minimal return. I would rather put it up on the place points where I was making money. So I think
the hardways weren't popping at all.
A little bit they were.
I didn't think they weren't back to back.
Yeah.
That's how you make your money, is when you parlay.
Yes.
So if it hits once and then you lose your $5,
yeah, let it go. Yeah, that's kind of how I was. I played it a couple of times, but I definitely didn't invest very much money into it just because I felt like I had enough on top on the 6 and 8 already, so I was just looking for a 6 and 8. It didn't have to necessarily be hardways.
Right. No, that's exactly right. So you had a story?
Well, yeah, no, it was something that happened that I thought was comical, because I even went and talked to the guy afterward, because we never really talk to other people at the table when we're at work.
Right.
But I was cashing in already, so I decided I wanted to go talk to this guy, because it was kind of special.
Well, and you had just rolled how many times?
Oh, that was your monster? Was that my 30? Yeah, that was my 30, because that was the 30 roll. So I had a 30.
So you had how many points?
6 points.
And about 30 rolls?
It was
37?
Exactly 30. Exactly 30. And I didn't pound 4s and 10s, but I had hit a 4 and 10. But I hit 5, 6, 8, 9 repeatedly, numerous times. And I hadn't hit 2, 3, 11, or 12 at all. And so my dice were actually staying on the inside, which was working.
Well, yeah,
really
no, that
well
was the one thing I noticed, and you had mentioned as well, was we had money for the ATS up there, but you had only hit the 6, 8, the 5, only the inside numbers.
I'd only hit the inside numbers at that point. I had hit back to back. I'd hit point back to back.
You'd been rolling like 15 rolls or well over 10 rolls, and you'd only hit like
3 numbers.
Yeah, 6, 8, and 9 or
5, 8, and 9, I think, at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 3 of the 4 inside numbers.
Right, 3 of the 4. And so we were making money and doing very, very well. And the guy to our left, who was slightly intoxicated, I would say.
He sounded. He might not have been, but that's his. It was his
maybe
attitude.
That was the way. Yeah. Well, he tossed out $22 for a horn bat, 20 for him and 2 for the dealers. And he was like, roll a 12. And I looked up at him and I said, man, I'm not going to roll a 12. I'm hitting all the inside numbers. And sure enough, what do I roll? But I roll a 12. So he got 228 is what he got.
What they paid him?
Yeah, that is what they paid him. And then he didn't press it, but he left it there, and he says, do it again. And sure enough, what do I roll? I roll another 12 back to back. And so he got another 228. And it was just funny because that was the only, and that was what I went and told him. I said, all the numbers I hit were inside the 12, is the only number I hit on the outside, and I hit it back to back for you. And so he made, $456.
Yeah.
And, that was great for him. I unfortunately, as much as I talked about jumping on those opportunities, did not jump on that opportunity. But I really was my dice were going so well that I didn't think that a 12 was going to hit the first time, let alone to do it back to back.
Right.
But nonetheless, that was still
fun for him.
It was fun to, it was fun to watch.
You needed to get that number off of the ATS.
Sure. If I could hit but if one of those 12s had been 11, we'd have been in the money.
Well.
But we did manage.
I was going to say, you did hit half, though.
I did. You did several times, and I think one time I was playing on somebody else's hit it. I don't know. I want to say I got paid 3 or 4 times on the ATS.
Yeah, somebody else hit it. No, the tables today were very, very, very warm.
They were nice. We still endured some point outs. That still happened.
0.7 outs.
0.7 outs, but we were still able to.
But we didn't have, at that moment, we didn't risk as much as we were risking once we got into a groove.
I had some money up there a couple of times.
Well, no, we lost 120 easy a couple of times, but then we'd hit, and then we'd be fine. We'd make up 100 here and 100 there.
Well, when I was hitting points, I was making money on the pass line, and obviously one of the ways that we play is we play heavy on the odds on the first and second point, and then we lessen a little bit on the third. So I made really good money on the first and second. The third through 6, I was risking double or triple odds, so I wasn't risking as much. But $60, $70, $80 on a point made is still a good payday.
Oh yeah,
for the toss of one set of dice across the table, that's still a great
still
payday.
A positive, yeah, no.
Well, and I think the approach of being disciplined, but playing with bigger units, and always keeping in mind, as much as we love Uncle Richie, who's a gentleman that Dave met in Vegas, who had a pressing system that we've really enjoyed and used a lot, and think it's very strong, efficient and strong. But it's hard, now one of the philosophies we're going with is we always want, when we do win, we want to put something back on our rail. And so with that in mind, we're not really able to do his system totally, but we still use a lot of those fundamental principles in how we press our bets.
Yeah, it's basically, we're talking about doing a full press with extra money or a max press versus putting money back in your rail and pressing one unit. Pressing one unit, you're able to at least pocket some money, and then you're still pressing. So I think it was working for you. I was fine just milking the cow.
Yeah, I was trying to press it a little bit.
Same bet. I don't know. And that's one of these other superstitions that we were talking about. The whole, once you see something hit on the table, and then after it hits, then you decide to put a bet on it, then the table usually sevens out.
Yeah, and you and I have never understood that.
It's a really weird thing, but yeah, it's not so bad when you're dividing up money that's already on the table.
But to put new money out there.
But it's new money after the numbers hit, and which is weird because it's only box numbers, because it wouldn't work on anything else.
Right.
But yeah, if someone's pounding the 9s or the 5s, and then after they've hit 3 of them, you decide, oh well, shit, they're going to keep hitting them. You put the money out there, then they 7 out.
Yeah, that's never worked out for us at all.
Never.
That was probably a first year.
And it's not chasing. It's just following. If you're following too late, you're behind the wave.
Well, you're one step behind. You should have zagged.
Exactly. And so you just need to cut it. And you need to watch out for that, because it just feels like you're late to the party.
Well, and I think you should tell.
And definitely don't bet big.
Oh well, yeah, you definitely need to slow down a little bit when that happens. Well, I think you should tell the story about the guy on your that kept throwing those chips at the back of you.
Oh man, And that was another. And I was on a big roll
You
too.
were on a very big roll.
I was missing one number of the ATS.
That was the 8.
That was the 2.
That was the aces. That was snake eyes. Yeah.
That was the 2. So I'd only hit maybe 2 points.
But you'd hit once. You'd hit the big side of the ATS.
I hit the big side, and I was only needing the 2 of the small
to finish it, and that was why I played money on the.
Yeah,
board.
and I'd been rolling for a while, and I was hitting numbers, and
28 rolls, I believe that roll was.
So, but yeah, so I was nice and calm, and the dice felt good in my hand, and the guy next to me and there were 2 guys next to me, so I'm basically stick left 2, so second position from the stick, and there were 2 guys, on the end from me, but the one guy was kind of close, and every time he would lean in to make a bet, he'd get his head real close to where I was. But the dice would come out. I'd start putting the dice where I wanted them, and then get ready to pick up the dice and throw them. And he would come in and put a $15 field bet right when I'm about to start throwing. And he did it like 5 times in a row.
Yeah, you said 5 times. Yeah.
And he's betting positive, so he's betting with me. He's not betting against me, so he's not trying to fuck with me. He just doesn't realize that he's messing. He doesn't realize that he needs to chill out and not be making a late bet.
Well, especially if you're just going to make a field bet, that's an easy play. Go ahead and set the bet before the dice. You're supposed to set the bet before the dice are out.
Yeah, that's the thing. He would never make that, but he would make it knowing that he was gonna make it, but he'd wait for me to have the dice in my hand to bake it.
Well, maybe he thought it was luckier that way.
Well, it wasn't lucky for him because I was hitting 6s and 8s.
Right, you sure were.
So, but, I mean, and then, so I finally I was just waiting for him to put the money out there, and he finally did, and I exhaled, I looked at him, I said, that's really bothering me. It's a lot like when you're taking photos of Tiger during his backswing. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I understand.
Well, and I did like the fact that you compared yourself to Tiger on the day that he won.
Well, actually, that's just coincidental.
He did win today.
I did see that, but I forgot about it. But either way, it was a great example.
It was a brilliant way to express it to this guy, because as soon as you said it, he was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I get it.
Yeah, well, and then what happened?
And then you 7'd out, yeah.
Yeah. So then there goes the whole thing of, should I have just kept my mouth shut?
It was in your head already.
He kept doing it. He just kept doing it. And yeah, no, he was in my head, and that's the whole thing. Now the good part is, I'd been rolling long enough where I'd minimized my bets that were out there.
Oh, everything was paid for.
We were sitting pretty, and I'd already hit, half the ATS with $10 on it. So that was a very good roll.
Yeah, no,
But that guy, man, he was less than 12 inches from me the entire time, and he was loud, and he kept wanting to give me high fives, and I'm like, just let me do what I want to do. Don't mess with my game. I don't need your bad luck all over me.
My mojo is my mojo.
Yeah. So, but
no, but I did think it was a great way to very quickly explain something.
Well, and I wasn't rude. So I mean, that's the other thing I wouldn't want to try to be. I'm not trying to be rude.
But you had to let your displeasure be known.
Well, and I guess it was after I'd rolled 20-something, so he's probably going to listen to me.
Right. Well, and at that point, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're at 27. That was your 28th roll.
Yeah, exactly. Actually.
Yeah,
I was at 27, so yeah, you're pretty much going to listen to whatever I say to you.
Well, and the dealers are going to be on our side because we tip
bets.
well, and we try to be respectful players of the game, and we appreciate the dealers and their time. And one of the dealers was a little slow today, but he still got it all done correctly. But he was a little bit slower. But they were nice it was a nice crew, so I didn't really mind.
No. He was slow, but he didn't hold up the game.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, instead of it taking 30 seconds for him to pay 3 people, it took him 40 seconds to pay 3 people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He wasn't terrible. That's why I'm saying he wasn't terrible. He just was a little slower.
Yeah.
But it was a good crew. I mean, good karma at the table today.
They had a good sense of humor.
Yeah. No, it was a.
They were having a good time talking with customers.
Yes. Well, and football's on, and they're probably happy to be busy again, and they got to wear jerseys today. So.
Yeah, no, they're all excited.
And the Saints won, so they were happy about that.
True.
Well, today probably was one of the first times I've ever gotten a free bet from a casino, and it was usually I hold on to them for a while, but today
Was it your first bet?
Today I used it as I used it as my pass line bet for my very first bet. So I had an $18 pass line bet, and actually made the point. So won that bet, and plus my odds, and plus a few other things I had hit. Yeah, I was up actually a few hundred after my very first touch of the dice.
Yeah.
We did a little up and down, but not too much down. I was up most of the day today.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing catch up like I always do.
No, I think we had two 2-hour sessions.
At least.
And it was actually at the same table and in our same positions.
In the same exact spots.
And we took about an hour break probably.
Maybe a little bit longer than that because we ate and drove to Isle Capri. So
yeah, so we got in around a little afternoon, and then
we left at 3 o'clock ish.
Okay, yeah.
So the first session was about 3 hours, and then we came back. It was like 5:15.
Yeah. But I went until about 7:38.
Yeah, about 7:45. I felt like I got the dice in my hands enough time. The table didn't really ever get packed, but it did have a good enough people. Oh, and I did think, so previous trips we've seen this particular guy who buys in or has a line of credit for $5,000, and when we were leaving after the first session, he was just getting there, and he got his $5,000 in credit, and he's a don't player.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
And he goes heavy on like 4 and 10, and he has hedges, and basically when his DC made it to a number, then he placed it. So he was making very small money on that, but he did okay one time during the come out roll when the 7 did show, so he did okay on that. But when he cashed in, so he was there from 3 to 5:30ish or so, and he cashed out for $5,300 and some change. So he only made like $300 for 3 hours, close to 3 hours of play. But I mean, that guy's risking so much money to only make $300.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I'm making $300, I want to maybe have had $1,000 bankroll and not even risking all of that. Only risking maybe $300 to $500 in play during that session. But he gets $5,000, and I mean, he literally had, at one point I remember counting, he had $1,800 up. So I mean, that's, of course, it was a little balanced because some was positive and some was negative, some was
yeah, he had it going both ways.
Yeah. So, but I mean, to play for that kind of money, and I mean, $350 or 3 and some change, whatever it was, is still a W.
Oh yeah.
But that's a lot to risk for that kind of return.
Yeah, no, if I were, well.
But the funny thing is when we got to the table for our second session, he packed his bags up.
Yeah, no, he definitely recognized who we were.
And for a couple old birdies like us to have a don't player pack up because he's scared of us is a little fun.
That was pretty. I was proud of him. I was very proud of him.
I mean, who's to say that he wasn't done before we arrived?
True.
But we're going to take credit for it.
Absolutely.
When I tell the story, that's how it's going to sound.
And that's exactly what you just did.
Yes. Well, I don't always, coincidences are not always valid. But no, it was dice were feeling really good in my hands. I felt like they were floating today, and 6s and 8s did show for us very nicely. 5s and 9s a little bit, but
My 4 and 10s were there a little bit today too.
well, it's one of those things that Dave likes is for Lake Charles, because we, like when we've been in Vegas, we don't notice that they pop as much. I guess it's certain areas, but in Lake Charles, we always feel like the 4s and 10s pop more.
Yeah, certain days they pop more than others, but I mean I've got more memories of seeing 4s and 10s because I'm noticing all the people who lay on it get hit,
Right.
and then there's a handful of people that do $50, $100 positive 4 and 10s.
Well, and you commented at one time because you were playing $50 4s and 10s, and then at one point you ended up playing a DC that ended up becoming a 10. And what was your thought process in that? Because you were just positive on it, like the turn before.
Well, it was because we had both just had we were rolling really well, and going to the other side of the table, it wasn't. And so I thought that it was choppy, and so I thought it was going to go the other way. So
Well, and you were right because you won that bet, and I was on the positive side, and I
Yes.
lost.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
And that was it was a $50 don't come bet.
Give yourself to the dark side.
And then, it traveled to the 10, and boom, 7 came a couple of rolls later. And then, that was I like a $50 don't come bet.
Give yourself to the dark side.
I think that's a
Well, and
good value.
I think we both didn't make very many bad. Well, I don't know that I made any bad plays.
I was going to say, every play we made was strong enough that we thought about it. We weren't just throwing money. The only money we were throwing around was for tipping the dealers.
Which was, minimal. And I will say that I wish I had stayed on that guy and then the girl when she rolled, but sometimes sitting out a roll is what you decide, and then they end up having a good roll, but you can't do anything about that. And in my mind, I always keep thinking the dice keep rolling, so if I don't play this person or I don't play this point, it's okay. I can play the next one.
Yeah, exactly. The game, there's always a game.
The dice keep rolling. Well, and then there was that gentleman that was on first spot right stick.
And it's not how you...
That's how I say it.
No, it's not.
He was
Call it by what it is. You know exactly what it is.
R1.
Stick right 1.
And so he bought in for 5,000, and he was a positive player, but he was making some. I looked over at one point.
The old man?
Yeah, and he had like $1,500 up, and he had like.
He was come betting, wasn't he?
He was doing that, but he was also playing big on the pass line. And the first time the dice came to me, he had he puts a $15 or $20 come bet out, and then he
maxes out.
Yeah,
odds.
he put 300 on the odds, and I rolled a 5. It was a 5, and I rolled it again, either the next one or the one after. And so, I mean, he made a good chunk of money, but then, he kept, it's those type of players that have to realize you're not going to keep getting those bets to hit.
Well, that's the thing. We're going back to back, but not back to back to back.
Yeah, I mean, you hit that kind of bet, you got to, okay, well, now what else do I do?
You know what he's doing? He's got a $15 bet, and then he maxes out odds, which is 20 times odds, so that's 300. So he's got 315 out there at risk. And what would we do on a 6 or 8? We'd put 150 out there, and we'd maybe keep it out there once or twice, tops. He's risking the second hit of something to be 300.
Right.
And
I know. Why don't you just put 300 on 5? And I mean the $15 come bet, that's only paying you another $15. The 300, your odds is where so why not? And so on the odds it would have paid.
It's going to pay what?
$450, and if you place it, it's going to pay $420. But it's a contract bet as opposed to a bet that you could pull down.
Exactly.
And so I mean that's where you and I differ from a lot of old school players.
It goes the other way around, where the more you roll, the more I want to diminish my bet. I don't want to increase my bet. So I don't want to go from 50 to 300, or from 150.
Right.
Or I don't want to go from 15 to 315. I want to go from 315 to 150 to 30.
Right.
I want to win enough on my first bet that I don't have to worry about my second or my third.
I concur with you 110%, sir.
Technically, I think all you have to do is agree with me 99%, because that's the name of the show.
Well, then I will agree with you 99%.
There you go.
I was just trying to give you that extra 11%. But you're right.
11 is lucky.
99 is the percent.
No. Today was a good day.
Definitely a positive for today was we cashed in at the appropriate times.
Yeah.
We're never going to really walk up to a table and leave in 20 minutes just because we love the game so much. And we know how to hang out at a table without, without losing money. We can do the dance and, sustain. So, we're never probably going to be the kind of players that walk up to a table, even if we made 500 in the first couple of rolls, we're probably still going to want to keep playing. And so I think I think we called it at the appropriate times. I think we both had maximized our bets. Obviously.
Well, to be honest, the first time I was actually wanting to leave earlier.
Well, I was
up, and then all of a sudden I was down by half.
Actually, that happened to me too, and then I managed to come back too. Yeah. At one point I actually was down, and then I said, "Do you want to leave?" But you were down at that point, and so
What's trickery
stayed.
going on over here?
And then I ended up losing a little bit, but then I made it back up, and I left a solid winner this morning at the first session, and did even better at the second session.
Yeah, I was not expecting that at all. I was not expecting our second session to be better than our first session. I was really paranoid about playing a second session because we were up on the first session.
And I think that buying in with a larger bank,
it is. I know exactly what you're going to say.
Is definitely. I don't know. It worked out very well for me. Usually I don't buy in for as much as Dave does. I'm probably a little bit more conservative on the betting than he is. But after this morning's conversation about me wanting to be more aggressive, that's what I did, and fortunately it worked out well. But also I say being more aggressive, which I was, but keeping that discipline. It's something that you and I have talked about a lot, and we have asked ourselves, how do we teach ourselves discipline? And I find that when I was up on the board for the minimums, 66 inside or whatever at a $15 table, and I'm winning, on my $18 six, I'm winning, 21, and even taking 2 or 3 of those and then turning off your bet and saying, okay, well, I hit 3, and this is the money I made. That it just wasn't enough. I don't want to sound greedy or not understand what I'm doing, but it wasn't enough money to where now that we're playing with much bigger units, you hit those units twice, and I'm like, okay, these 2 black chips plus these chips, that's enough of a win for this guy,
for this person,
and I can turn it off, and I'm happy to sit. And even if the guy, on that one time, the guy rolled.
The guy did roll like 4 of your points.
He hit.
Or 4 of your numbers.
I was on 6 and 8, and I turned it off because he hit 2 pretty quick, and I was in the money, and that was when the dealer said, hey, if I made that kind of money, I'd be good too. But that guy proceeded to hit 6 and 8 5 more times, so I take off the 2 that makes you even, that pays for the bet. So I lost 3 of those unit bets. But at the same time, I think in the long run, protecting my money is more important in playing that disciplined game. And I probably wouldn't have kept my bets the same. I probably would have regressed them anyway. So having it hit twice and winning that and still getting to pull back my bets is huge.
Yep.
Instead of it being a $200 win, it's more like a $350 win because you're pulling your bets down.
Well, sure. No, that's exactly what we talked about. We were doing well with raising our raising our bets and having money on the table, but then we were never able to turn it off or take it down. We'd always end up leaving it up there, and then we'd be up by $15 as opposed to $115.
Right.
No, we definitely, all the practice paid off today.
We're talking about practice, man. I mean, how silly is that, man? We're talking about practice.
Today it did. And we know how quickly south that can go the next time we go, but...
Oh yeah, there are no guarantees.
It still is gambling, but, you know, I think having the money in the right place for the right roles is what we want to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're realistically evaluating each role and what to do with each role on each shooter, and then how we handle each shooter individually.
Yeah, because I didn't play you can't play the size, the unit size that we're playing with.
You said that properly.
Thank you. You can't bet that on every person.
No.
And so you kind of have to pick and choose. Now, did I pick and choose right every time? Absolutely not. I lost a few that, you know, they sevened out right after they come out, and then I missed out on that guy and that girl that they hit some sixes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you just can't play. I mean, in our heads, you can't play the same every time.
Well, that's another part of, our play is we don't need to force it because there's always a game. So it's not like we have to play every single role that we're at. I mean, because there's always a game later, or there's always a game next week, or whenever we're coming back, but...
Well, when you think about it, even at the pace...
you're not going to catch every roller either.
Oh, absolutely. But even when you think about the pace of playing craps the way we did today, I mean, think about the hundreds and the thousands of dollars that we pushed out, took in, pushed out, took in.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you're winning some and you're losing some, but fortunately today we won more than we lost.
No. That's a good thing. Yeah, it's really strange to me on how some people just don't understand how to make money. They just think that it's winning bets, and a winning bet means you win.
We've talked about this, though, and how people we have our plays, people have their play, but we have multiple plays where most people only have one or two
three
plays.
Yeah.
I always play the Hardways. I'm always going to play a come bet, and I'm always going to play the pass line. Where we have numerous different plays for different situations.
Spin the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, we can walk you through all the crap that you want.
No, and again, that was working. It was really... I say that kind of in shock. We're going to have to repeat it, that's all.
I think what we did today is very repeatable. The first session, I think the ATS helped us make money. Without the ATS on the first session, I would have still won money, but not as much.
That's kind of obvious.
Well, yeah, obviously, but I mean, the ATS has helped me come back because I was down for a little bit. The second session, though, I mean, we did hit once, but I mean, mine only paid me $140.
Right.
And so that, I mean, that's a great lick, and I will take that every time, but that is not the reason why I made money that time.
Yeah.
We rolled that time, and that was one of the things is we did it ourselves.
Right. No, which is exactly the way we've always talked. We always talk that we're going to bet heavier on ourselves. We've got more faith in ourselves because we know that we're at the tables more than other people.
If I'm going to put $300 on somebody, it's going to be
the experience.
It's either going to be me or you. It's not going to be some guy that just walked up to the table who's got a Bud Light in his hand, and
Well, and is shaking the dice and throwing like a chicken feeder.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the person I'm going to put that kind of money on. Now, I might put $100 on them for a couple rolls, but I think there's definitely knowing when to have money out there and when to limit it. You know, kind of like your blackjack players that, you know, they're going to bet the minimum table until they find that wave, and then they're going to increase their bets.
Yeah.
I mean, to a certain extent, that's kind of what we're doing. We're trying to find the trend and trying to find the wave, but we're also more willing to put more money on us when the dice are in our hands.
Yep. Well, it's the illusion that we have control.
Well, it's the illusion that we're good, because, yeah, we both had a lot of crappy rolls, too.
No, yeah, but that's the thing. All we need, I don't even know if we had the majority of our rolls were positive or the majority were negative. I think the majority were negative. We just had the positive ones were really positive.
Well, I actually had a couple of decent, like that one I had that was 12 rolls, but I hit 3 points. You know, that wasn't a huge roll, but
Yeah.
I made money.
No, and that was, I guess that's one thing we were doing. We were hitting the first point.
Yeah.
It was taking a while, but we were hitting it.
FPL was back. First point Lewis.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is much more fun to win. I have a great time whenever we go, but I will say walking out with other people's money is exhilarating.
Indeedy, 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 indeedy.
Well, and it's a really good trip when not only did you make money, but you were like, in your mind, you're like, all right, well, my bankroll just went up a notch.
Yeah.
You know, that's enough money, and the initial bankroll, I don't need this, so I'm going to keep it all together, and now all of a sudden I've got a third bigger bankroll than I initially went with.
Well, you know what's interesting? One of the topics on the wall that I didn't bring with us that I thought about it is we've got one, and it's overconfidence.
Yes.
How many times have we come to the casino with what we think is the right attitude, and it turns out to be overconfidence?
Yes, sir.
But today, I think everything was in check.
Well, and if there's one guy that can always bring your confidence down, that's me.
But not today.
No, not today. Today, we even shared a few high fives today.
We did. It felt good. It'd been a couple weeks.
Yeah, it had been a little while since we'd been, but it was, well, and see, in the last trip I broke even, you know, I mean,
Well, yeah, no, last trip we didn't lose. We just didn't win.
Yeah, I mean, I broke even when it was pretty much all said and done, and, you know, had a great day. It was, you know, we played craps for, you know, a good number of hours, and I always enjoy that, but, you know, it was a break-even day, but today was, you know, definitely, I'd buy stock for myself after today.
Well, we just, I know one thing we talked about doing was taking better notes. I don't think we did that.
No, but I did keep count of the rolls. And so I can tell you, you know, the number of rolls that you had, especially on your big rolls. But yeah, you had a few that were 2 and 3 rolls. I did that one that was 12 with 3 points. And then I had, I think, 3 very quick ins and outs. But then I also had a 30 and an 18, and that might have been it. Seems like I should have rolled more than that, but I don't think we rolled but twice in the night session?
Yeah.
Maybe 3 times?
Well, and that was the thing, I guess. It was the morning, the first session was where we weren't, the first session was where we had our short rolls. Or where I had my short rolls. It was the second session that we did really well.
Yes. I was a little bit more, I don't know, moderate would be a good word, but yeah, I had 220 out there at one point and rolled a 7 on after the come out. That hurt.
Yes.
That did hurt.
No, there were a couple of times where we got hurt. But you know what happened is when I would get hurt like that, then I would diminish the number of bets I had out there, and I started going back to the 4 and 10. You know, and I build myself back up, wait for that streak to come back. You know, it got a little choppy, but you could see your way out of it being choppy back to warm.
Yeah, I did get choppy for a little bit, and I managed. Well, actually, I think those particular rolls I managed not to play at all.
Yeah, you might have, and I think there is something to be said about that. We've the idea of back-to-back, you know, monster rolls are, you know, it happens, but it doesn't happen.
And I will say this: that in any time I didn't play somebody, it's a complete gut call.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason. And then I missed 2 people that I would have made, because they rolled 6s and 8s. I would have made money on them, but I stayed off of them, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And that was part of the discipline game that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And believe me, when in my mind I'm up, I wanted to put some chips out there, but you know, at the same time.
Well, and that's the thing. You have to be satisfied with any win, even if it's just a small win.
Well,
sometimes.
Exactly, but you know, at the unit size that we're playing, it's not a small win. They were good size wins.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of where I'm going. Is it's still a matter of you're going to win so many times. Doesn't matter really what the unit level is.
Right. Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, 6s and 8s are only going to hit so many times. Whether you have $12 on it, $60, or $150 on it. It's only going to hit so many times. No, and actually, we should talk about the play that you had on, was it a 6 or an 8 that you went from 66 to 150? That was absolutely beautiful. In 2 rolls.
That was my roll.
That was you. That was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that was 6 was the point, and I put 66 on the 8.
And I mean, this is, you know.
And first roll was an 8. And I pressed that 66 to 150.
And then was it 2 rolls later?
Then it was, I think, a 3 hit. And then I think either the 8 hit or another number, and then the 8 hit. And then so the 150 paid 175. And then I said, thank you, take me down to 30.
And I mean, that is skillful.
And it was beautiful. And then I think it hit one more time, and then that was it.
It was like watching you pull the kidney out of the operation game. I mean, it was very, very well done. It was.
Well, and that was the thing. Then, you know, I still had a 5 and 9 out there too.
And I love the fact that when you pressed it, the dealer didn't know the press.
Well, there's that. But that's just, well, he needs to spend more time at the table.
Well, absolutely. It was beautifully done. It really, really was. I was very happy to watch it. I wish it had been my money, but it was very well done.
And I wasn't nervous about it either, so that was the cool part. You know, once you start throwing black chips out there and, you know, risking that kind of money, all of a sudden your heart races a little bit higher, and you're breathing a little bit.
Well, you know, actually,
tenser.
The funny thing is and I had been thinking about this, but last trip that we came, I ordered a black coffee.
Yes, you did.
And I sipped probably 3 or 4 sips. And it got me very jittery.
You said it jacked you up.
It jacked me up, and I will say that was the day that I rolled terribly.
That might have something to do with it.
It very much did.
There you go. Now you know.
Very, very. That's why I did not order.
You're not a coffee guy.
I don't ever drink coffee, but
when you said that, I was surprised because I was drinking beer.
But it was so cold in there, I wanted something to warm my hands up, and I took a few sips.
You should ask for hot chocolate next time.
You know, I don't drink milk very often, but yes, next time that would be better than the coffee because the coffee jacked me up. But today I ordered a Coke and a water, and the sugar did me right because I don't drink sodas I don't ever really drink sodas, and I was very comfortable, and every release felt good.
You don't say.
I actually am blushing, so I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But no, today was not. I did not order a coffee because of that. And
Sure. No, I remember you saying that. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't affect me at all. I don't know. I'm pretty. When I'm throwing, I'm into my throwing.
Well, I was too, but I mean, I was when I say jittery, my hands were shaking.
No, you had too much caffeine. Yeah, I know, I get it. But I mean, I'm thinking about myself, and I mean, hell, I go all over the place. I'll have like 3 or 4 Red Bulls, and I'll start with a couple of, espresso coffees, and then I'll have a couple of beers, and I'm all over the place.
But that's normal. I mean, you're a daily coffee drinker.
That's my normal habit. But the weird part is that's my normal habit, but my throwing's consistent.
Yeah, so I think that's one reason why I did much better today was because I stayed away from the caffeine. Caffeine is evil. But
yeah, I don't know why. I mean, if I would, I guess I was just very comfortable at the table. Well, there was no heat whatsoever, so that was really nice.
Well, we actually didn't have that many short rolls.
No, we don't. We don't throw short anymore.
Yeah. And actually, my last roll on my 30 that came up 6-1 was a short roll, and that's actually more of what I noticed. When we're short, we can throw a 7. Yeah.
It's weird. So yeah, no, I'm not worried about throwing short anymore.
Something that I've actually been doing for quite some time, more obviously in practice than at casinos.
We're talking about practice, man. I mean, how silly is that, man? We're talking about practice.
But I don't use the same dice set every time I throw.
Today I did.
I switch it up actually pretty frequently. And I will use it for things that I'm trying to throw for. For example,
I saw you using the 2s.
Yeah, sir, I did do that for the point a couple times, trying to hit the point. Actually, and one time I rolled a 3-1. But what I notice in my throwing when I'm on is when I do the Hardways sets that I'll roll 6, 8s, and 9s. And when I do the inverted 3s, then I roll 5, 6, and 8. And then when I do hard 2s up, I usually roll either 6, 8, or 4. And so on that one roll of 30, when my dice actually were working for me, that was what I was doing, because not that I'm that good, I'm nowhere near that good, but in my head, if I keep using the same dice set and I keep pounding the same number too many times, you're not going to do it all the time. Yeah, so I don't know. I've been switching, rotating almost.
I did that the last time, but this time I didn't need to do that. I felt real comfortable with what I was doing. But you know what? Is for a while I was hitting Hardways.
Yes, yeah, you were.
I was hitting Hardways really well, so I knew my dice were doing well. So I didn't worry about it. And then I guess if anything, instead of using a different dice set, I'm throwing harder. I'm making it bounce off.
Well, and for me, I'm trying to throw them softer. I want them to hit the wall and stop.
It's still a soft throw, but I mean, if anything, I'm throwing it close. I'm reducing the angle of the bounce.
Right. Well, I get that. But I find that when my dice roll further off the wall, they become more random. When they bounce right in front of the wall and hit the wall and then bounce,
you want them to stop
and slow down and stop, they're much more controlled for me.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I think we're trying to do, or what anybody's trying to do if they're trying to have a little bit of I won't say influence, but something like that. But it's just a matter of can you hit a spot? Can you throw to the same spot over and over?
Well, I think we both got into really good rhythms today.
Yeah, no, it felt good. There was one idiot down at the end of the table who put their chips right where I was freaking landing my dice, though.
Well, now that I'm trying to literally throw it inches in front of the wall,
Well,
it wasn't bothering me at all.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times I don't mind when people have dice where...
Because then you use them as a guiding light.
no, then I'm trying to hit right in front of it. Then the only thing that gets me in trouble is when they start stacking their odds.
Oh, yeah. And then you got to jump.
Then I got to
leapfrog.
jump real high, yeah. And then other times I'll try to stretch across the table, get through, shoot from the middle. Yeah, it didn't seem, I mean, they had 3 tables, 1 crapless, all $15. But the casino didn't look busy. You know, the craps tables were, you know, had a crowd.
Craps tables always seem to have a crowd around them.
Yeah. Well, and there was still a good, at least 4 people playing bubble craps.
Push the button. Come on. Push the button.
Well, we went over to Isle of Capri. Isle of Capri was full.
Yeah.
And then their bubble craps
Push the button.
had like 5 or 6 people.
And I agree with you, because you at one point seemed kind of excited about playing the crapless table. And I don't have a problem with that, but we should definitely practice.
We talking about practice, man. I mean, how silly is that, man? We're talking about practice.
At home a little bit before we do that.
Well, I believe that your strategy at a crapless table, the approach to it is a lot like we approached learning the don't.
Give yourself to the dark side.
I mean, I think it's... You have to have the bankroll for it. The thing with playing the don't is you have to have a good amount of money to risk.
Sure.
And that was why we never did at the beginning, because we always had like a $500 or a $300 bankroll. We couldn't afford to put that money, but now we can. So, but I think that's the same way with crapless. The bonuses to crapless are the extremes, which, you know, we talked about are the outside numbers. So the extreme outside numbers, the 2, 3, 11, and 12, and they pay 6 and 3 to 1 respectively. And that's just,
Well,
I think when you're playing crapless, you have to bet those in order to. That's the only part of being on that table.
I will tell you,
because one of those can be a point.
I will tell you this. Out of all the dice sets I know, trying to roll for the extremes is something I've never played.
I know. Yet you hit 2 back-to-back today.
I did for 400.
You even called one of them.
400. I didn't. He did. I told him I wasn't going to hit it, and then I did it.
Well, no. Then you said, "How about do it back-to-back?"
Right.
And then you did. So you did call it.
Should have put some money on where my mouth was. But on a day like today, where I was, I mean, I'm not trying to break my own arm. I'm patting myself on the back, but where I was throwing decently, you know, setting for the extremes would be very interesting.
Yeah. No.
You know, if I could do that the first 2 or 3 tosses and hit 2 out of 3.
Well, it's either a straight 6 or a cross 6.
I would like to practice with it, because I've never actually.
Well, and the same thing, 3V, you can switch to a 3 and 11. I think if you make it upside down, or if you know, take it 2 more rotations, or however. But yeah, I think instead of a 6 and 8, it's an 11 and 3.
Well,
that gets thrown in there.
You know, that would be interesting to. There's a reason to try to play crapless.
Well, again, have enough bankroll, and if we're talking about, well, there is only one crapless table now that I'm thinking about it in Lake Charles.
That is true.
So.
But you could easily establish a point, and then
play the horn.
Play the horn, yeah.
Or the field. I think the horn would be better, but So when we're talking about the strategy today that we used when we're playing with other people or betting on other shooters, were you betting multiple bets? Were you betting sisters?
I was betting sisters.
Or were you just betting single bets?
No, I was betting sisters, brother and sister. No, just sisters. If the point was 8, I was playing I was putting money on I was basically placing the 6 and 8 for my bet. Yes. I played 5 and 9 a few times, and actually did fairly well with them. The times I did play with them. When it was you or me, that was when I was willing to go inside and actually cover more box numbers. But to be honest with you, more times than not, I did not. Instead of playing 4 even units inside, I was preferring playing 2 units on 2 numbers, and finding that, as opposed to playing single unit 5, 6, 8, and 9, I was playing double units on 8 and 6. And when those numbers hit, making that pay, that money was definitely worth, because I was taking a couple hits and then relaxing.
Yep.
Saw a couple other people turn off their bets a little bit. We definitely did the most of it, either turning off or pulling down. And I think we were not the only people that walked away winners. People that bet on us walked away winners today, but we definitely walked away very well.
Well, what happened to the people that won was
They left.
They left after we were done, just like we did. The people that lost were the people that won when they bet on us, but then they started betting on everybody else after us, and then they lost their money before it got back around to us again.
Yeah, after my 30,
we lost half the table.
After my 30 toss, I thought about asking the table if they wanted to pass it all the way right back to me. But we both know chances of doing it twice in a row. But I just felt like I was in such a groove that, because, a lot of players that might roll 30 will have hit some 7s on their come-outs. But I did not hit a single 7 until my 30th roll.
Yep. That's crazy.
Well, statistically, we should do some math and come out with the probability of how hard that was.
It was about that hard.
It was hard. And I will say that these sessions, the time went by very quickly.
Yeah, it did.
To me, the time went by very quickly.
For a while there, it seemed like it was taking forever for the dice to go around the table.
For me, I guess, for me, that wasn't true today.
Yeah. I don't know. Then again, I held the dice for like over a half hour. So.
We both held them on. We both held on to it for a while.
Yeah, we did.
We always said that it would never really matter what would happen at a table as far as people, appreciated what we try to do. But sometimes it does feel good when the table claps for you after your roll. I'd rather accept chips. And then the old guy that was playing the $300 come bets, the $315 come bets.
Yeah.
He had a 5 that hit, and I said something like, because I didn't even have anything on the 5. I was heavy on the 6 and 8, and I said something like, "Don't forget to tip your shooter." And the dealer was like, "What'd you say?" And I was like, "Don't forget to tip the shooter." I just made him a shit ton of money with that one roll.
I remember when you said that to the dealer.
Yeah, I said that to Stickman. But I also felt today we definitely tipped appropriately. I think the dealers love playing with us. And I actually liked putting $5 or $6, $1 across all the place numbers for them.
Yeah.
And, when people were rolling, they were making money. you know, there were guys that put money on the Hardways, and actually the Hardways did fairly well for the dealers today. At least it looked like they were putting some good $10, and I saw them put down some $40 bets a couple of times and 60 once. So they definitely were making some tips. Tips were, because sometimes I don't think the dealers make that much, but when the table's hot, people start tipping.
No,
But yeah,
they can make a good amount.
$6 across is a fun bet for the dealers, because, well, they can press it or they can take it down, you know what I mean? I think they probably made, maybe on my $12 that I gave them, that I did that a couple of times. Well, I guess I gave them a couple more dollars to add in the holes every once in a while. But I mean, they made $30 or so.
Sure.
And it keeps them paying attention.
Not like the 66 they won.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they got $2 on that Snake Eyes.
Well, didn't you have a ATS bet up there for them once that won?
I sure did. Well, that only paid them 40. Or 34 plus $1, so 35. So yeah, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Oh, good for me. Well, I think I said it earlier. I don't know if I said it when we were recording or not, but you know, when we were a couple years ago, when we were playing, you know, inside for 66, you know, when you get 21 or $18, you know, 2 or 3 hits, you know, seems like a lot of chips, but it's not really much money. But making these unit sizes bigger, 1 or 2 hits, and I'm okay sitting and watching.
Yeah. Yeah, we're on to something. We're definitely on to something.
We may have turned a corner.
And I would say I felt a lot more calm. I don't know, maybe I think a little bit of it is our, you know, the trip to Biloxi. We got all this random shit out.
Yeah, I mean, because Golden Nugget really is our second home. When it comes to craps, it's our primary.
No, it is our home.
Well, I mean, your house is our home with craps. We will never play anywhere as much as we've played at your house.
Well, true. So yes, okay, second home.
I mean, how many thousands of hours have we told at this?
Yeah, over 5 years. But yeah, no, it felt really comfortable today.
Now, there's been a lot of growing pains, but definitely overconfidence could be our problem on our next trip.
Well, and that's why it's on the board. It's something you got to watch out for. You got to watch out for your ego.
Well, and I understand that, and one role I thought about increasing my unit from maybe like doubling it, because I had just had a good. Well, I had a good roll and made some money around the table.
Yeah.
But I felt like, you know, the unit size I was already using is good enough. I've never had any complaints.
Have an adequate unit size, do you?
And I didn't go up, and I think I hit one number, and then I think I 7'd out. So, you know, I mean, I still lost money, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been, and it definitely would have been much worse if I had gone up in unit size.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm thinking is, you know, staying. Always one of the things I've always said is you got to always earn it, you know, and that we used to say that at a $5 table, instead of starting at, you know, 15, start at 5, and then we wanted to build it up, and we've quickly realized that we want to reverse that side.
Yeah. Coming up on our next episode, we talk about our most recent casino trip. The Red Eye Gamblers, thank you for your time, and hope you got a little something out of this week's podcast.
Here's to rolling 7s on the come out, and may your 6s and 8s always be hard. Cheers.